Okay, so we've got an architectural photograph here of the side of a building, and we can see already it's quite polished. We've got all these clean lines and it looks very neat. But we're just going to look at polishing it up a bit for a more professional presentation. So first of all, we're going to remove unwanted elements from the image. This will include the light down here and also several small marks on the building itself. So we're going to work non-destructively, and that means we'll create a new pixel layer here. Then we'll go in, select the in-painting brush tool, increase the brush size, and then from the drop-down up here we want to select current layer and below. What this will do is let the in-painting brush sample from the layer beneath, which is our main image. So we'll go in and firstly remove the light. Okay. Then on the building itself, we just have several small marks and scuffs that we can just quickly in-paint over. We'll also remove this. It's actually a part of the building, but it's a bit distracting right on the edge. Okay. So what we've done is pre-prepared the image just to get rid of any scuffs or marks that we don't want. So the next step is to enhance some of the lines in this composition, and we'll start with the windows. Now we're going to use vector-based shapes and curves to enhance these areas. So I'll go in, select the pen tool, and we'll set a stroke of say 2 points. So we'll just go in and start drawing around the window frame and connect it up. Now at this point, the window actually extends off the edge or the bottom of the image. So to reflect that, we'll select the node tool, then we'll just move these two nodes outside of the image. Okay, so next we'll add a fill to this vector shape. So the easiest way to do this is actually just to start clicking on the color sliders here, and we'll fill the curve with pure white. And this is ideal. So if I select the hand tool for a moment so we can see what we're doing, the next step for this curve is to go ahead and add a live Gaussian blur filter and use a radius of about 1 pixel. Then, with the curve selected, we'll have an opacity of about 75%. So already we can see we've created an entirely different look for this window pane. Now, we could painstakingly draw out curves for every single window frame, then change the opacity, add a Gaussian blur. But a far quicker way is to simply, with the curve selected, duplicate it. Then activate the Move tool, drag it over to the next pane, and select the Node tool. Then simply reposition each node so it accurately fits the window frame. Okay, that's 2 frames down. We'll duplicate again, activate the Move tool, and repeat this process for the remaining frames. Okay, so far so good. The next step now is to accentuate the actual outlines of the window frames. So once again, we'll select the pen tool. This time we will use a width of 3.5 points. Then simply click to define our nodes around the window pane and join them again. And once again, because it extends off the edge of the image, we can just reposition the nodes like so. Okay, then once again, we'll go ahead, add a Gaussian blur. We'll use less of a radius this time, let's say 0.2 pixels. This is really just to take the edge off the aliasing. Then again, to make our lives significantly easier, we will duplicate the curves and reposition them using the node tool. Okay, so now, like we did with the window panes, we can take care of the rest of these frames, duplicating the curve, then with the node tool, once again, positioning it. Okay, we're getting there. So the next step is to brighten up the sky, actually make it more monotone than it is, in terms of stripping some of the texture out of it. So the easiest way to do this is if we select the original pixel layer, use the selection brush, then with this rough selection, we will add a recolor adjustment. Now, charming as the red is, we'll actually go for a pale blue. Then, of course, we need to tidy up these edges here. So with the recolor adjustment selected, we'll go into Layer and Refine Mask. Then basically we want to refine these edges, so we'll click drag over them to begin refining. And actually the remainder of the selection is okay, so we'll click apply, and that's just tidied up our mask around the side of the building there. So then, the next step is to add a bit of lightness to the underside here, as it looks a bit grimy and grotty and beige. So, making sure we are going to be working above that in-painting layer, we want to choose the pen tool We're going to start from the top curve here, but we're going to choose a smaller width. And also under mode here, we have several choices. We've got smart mode, polygon mode, line mode. We're going to activate smart mode for now. Then we can begin clicking to create our curve using the side of the underbelly, if you like, as a guide here. Okay, then we can just click outside of the image to get right back up to the top here and join the curve. Then with the curve selected, again we want to quickly start manipulating these sliders, which will very quickly fill that curve with white. And same as before, we want to add a live Gaussian blur, radius about 0.5 pixels, which we may or may not reduce, but then also we'll go in and we'll try an opacity of about 70%. Okay, so that may look a bit bright at the moment, but bear in mind we are going to add a final tonal adjustment in the form of a curves adjustment. So we'll do that now and select the top layer first, then go in and add a curves adjustment. And we'll just start drawing out a traditional S-curve and then take the shadow tones down a bit more. So, looking at it at this point, we might decide that an opacity of 70% is perhaps slightly too high. So let's try 60. Somewhat too low. Let's meet in the middle at 65. Yes, that looks about right. Okay, then the final finishing touch is to just thicken up all the lines in this image. So we'll go in, add a clarity filter. It's nested here, so we'll just drag it out on its own. Then we want to change the blend mode to darken and drag the radius slider pretty much all the way up. And that will just thicken out the line detail. So because we've worked non-destructively, what I can do is Shift-click to select all of these layers, then simply uncheck them and we can see what we started with. Okay, and if I go ahead and check all the layers again, we can see what we've done. We've in-painted out unwanted areas of the image. We've replaced the textured cloudy sky with a monotone sky. We've added tinted highlights to the window panes and outlines to the window frames. We've brightened up the murky looking underside of the building here. And then finally, we've added a tonal adjustment in the form of curves, and we've darkened up all of the lines using a clarity filter with its blend mode set to darken. So that's one of many ways that you can use a variety of techniques in photo to create something a bit unique and more creative out of an image. This type of approach has creative and commercial purposes. You can use it in real estate and product photography to really tighten and clean up your images. So if you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to ask on the official Affinity forums. Thank you for watching.